can you guess my question?
Well, I don't know the future, so I'm just going to wait and listen.
Parshat Shoftim, and in this week's Parsha, towards the end of Revi'i, we find a very famous concept, a very fundamental concept in Judaism of Tamim, Teye im Hashem Elokicha. You should be Tamim with God. Now, what does exactly Tamim mean? So usually it is translated as simple, somewhat of a naive person, a type of person that doesn't ask questions about anything, a type of person that flows with what's going and doesn't really think too much about what's going on. And the Torah tells us over here, that's the way you should be with God. That's the way you should be with your belief. And again, like I said, this is one of the main concepts in Judaism. And the big question is, how is this one of the main concepts in Judaism? If in Judaism, the whole point and so much of our heritage, our tradition is learning, asking questions like we mentioned last week and so many times, and getting to answers and developing and researching and finding from Avraham Avinu, through Moshe Rabbeinu, up until today, through the Rishonim, Achronim, everything is about learning and asking questions and developing and moving forward in your knowledge and growing by knowing more, not by knowing less. So how is this such a fundamental concept in Judaism? What does it actually mean? Tamim, Teye im Hashem Elokicha. How does it go together with the other values that we have in Judaism of researching and learning and growing through knowledge?
Yeah, I think when we think of Tamim, we see the Tam from the Haggadah, the boy based on the pictures that we grew up with in the Haggadah, who's like stands there, doesn't know what to say, has no questions. And this isn't a regular image of someone who serves God and learns and grows. So really, how do these two together? What does Tamim actually mean? And I think if we look for the meaning of Tamim, as we've done several times, we get confused because we actually see Tamim meaning something which is almost the opposite, seemingly. Tamim is Torah Tmima, is complete. Even today, it's used when you complete something. Tam hatekes, if the ceremony's over, you say it's over, it's complete, it's ended. How is complete and simple even connected at any level? And as we also always do, I think to find the answer, we need to go back into the psukim and see what exactly is being told, because many times we have certain ideas of what something means, but when we see them in the psukim, it shines a different light. And here, the context of this pasuk is very, very clear, as also Rashi points out, because the topic that we're talking about is all different types of magicians, fortune tellers. In short, it's all different people trying to get answers for the unknown. We live in a world which has many unknowns, especially the future is completely unknown. And these are all different methods to make decisions in the future, to know the future, to make the right decision, what I should do based on different signs. All these people, as Rashi puts it, are chokrim achar העתידות. They're investigating, they're researching, they're trying to get answers about the future. And they're actually never going to get an answer because there are no answers, because we live in a world, part of this world is that we live with unknowns, and we need to learn to live with these unknowns. But if we think of what's driving these people, they're all trying to feel complete. They're not happy with just holding on to a piece and feeling they're lost in some unknown. They want answers. Answers make us feel complete, make us feel we have a full picture. Now we only have a little piece of the picture, and there's so many pieces of the puzzle missing. And all these people are finding different ways to fill out that puzzle to achieve that completeness. And the Torah says that's not the way to achieve completeness. You also never get to any completeness that way. The way to achieve it is Tamim Teye im Hashem Elokicha. Why is Tamim always seen to us as someone who's simple, being simple? Why do we assume it's someone who's not so bright? Because we see Tamim as being naive. Why naive? Because if someone is happy with what he has, he obviously doesn't know enough. He obviously doesn't see how complicated things are. We live in a complicated world. If someone's able to live happily with simplicity, obviously he's just naive. Obviously he just doesn't know. We know, we're grown up. We know how complicated the world is. Children we see as Tamim, they're simple. They haven't grown up like us. We know. But I think if we actually understand what Tamim Teye im Hashem Elokicha is, we'll realize that Tamim isn't coming from ignorance. It's coming from a totally different place. You can be wise and deep and learn and educated and still be Tamim im Hashem Elokicha. Because if what's causing us to not feel complete is the fact that we live in a world with unknowns, then as I said, you're never going to find complete. But if we live in a world with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if we make room for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our life, if we know that we have our part in the world and there's the things that we're responsible for and we need to do, and we do our best, and we know that anything we're not doing is in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not unknown in the sense that it's lost and there is nothing there and we have to somehow find those puzzle pieces. It's just unknown to us. It's known to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we're fine with that. It's being able to live happily with not knowing, with the unknown, because we know that it's completely known in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when we're able to live like that, when we're able, and as we grow and know more and do more, that's great. But forever, we're only going to have our part, the part that we know. And maybe we need to read the pasuk a little different. It's not Tamim Tiyeh before Hashem Elokicha. It's not you should be Tamim in your ways with God or before God. The word is with, meaning you can't be complete alone. Stop trying to answer the future. You'll never reach Tamimut, that feeling of Tamimut, of completeness. You'll never reach it alone. You will if you finally are ready to make room in your life for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tamim Tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. With HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's how you will achieve Tamimut. And maybe that's what Rashi's saying here, because Rashi, very different than what we're used to, doesn't just explain Tamim Tiyeh means something. He goes on to give a whole explanation of how we should be living our lives. And he says, Tamim Tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha, התהלך imo בתמימות. Walk with him. It's a beautiful way of saying things, right? Not just do what you need to do. You're not alone. Walk with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ותצפה לו. Wait for him to fill his part. Don't just have him there when you failed and things didn't go out, so I'm going to pray to him to fill. No. He has a part. Wait for him to fill his part. You do your part. You're walking together down a path. ולא תחקור אחר העתידות. And don't start investigating and researching and trying to know what's going to be in the future. The future isn't your part. Your part is the present. Be able to be in the present, live in the present, happily with the part that you have. And he goes on to say, אלא כל מה שיבוא עליך קבל בתמימות. Anything that comes upon you, see it with תמימות. As this is what was supposed to be. This is who I was supposed to be. This is what was supposed to happen. And then he ends with the following word. ואז תהיה עמו ולחלקו. And then you will truly be with HaKadosh Baruch. In other words, when you truly make room for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu isn't only there when things go wrong and you want him to save the day, if you've actually made room for him to the point that you're walking with him, that you're leaving room for him and you're waiting to see where he's going to take you and what he's going to do in your life, then you're going to truly have him in your life. Az tiyeh imo velechalko. When he's there, then you can achieve the tamimut, and when you achieve the tamimut, then he's there in your life. I think this is why this is such an essential part of who we are as Jews.
Exactly. The whole idea over here of Tamim Tiyeh Hashem Elokecha is just like you were saying, that part of living in this world, part of being in this world is walking with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In order to be complete, in order to be whole in this world, you have to walk with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because like you mentioned, and also we mentioned many times in the past, the world, ha'olam in Hebrew, is called olam because it is ne'elam, because there's so many unknown things in this world. It's the same shoresh of ilm, ayin lamed mem. That's what this world is about. It's about living in a world of not knowing. That's what growing up means. It means to live in a world that you don't know and being okay with that, being fine with not knowing, being fine with uncertainty, because you are walking with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, it is very scary. It can be very scary to walk like that in this world, but going back to Avraham Avinu, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, התהלך לפניי ותהיה תמים. Maybe this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Avraham Avinu. He told Avraham, walk in front of me, התהלך לפניי ותהיה תמים. That's how you will be tamim. Or in order to walk לפניי, you have to be tamim. In order to be the first one walking, in order to be the first one leading the way, to be the one that faces the uncertainty before everything else without knowing, just like a person that's carving a path in life is faced with a lot of unknown, is faced with a lot of decisions they have to make without knowing what the outcomes will be, with all the uncertainty that comes with leading the way. In order to be able to lead the way, in order to walk lefanai teye tamim. You have to be tamim. You have to be full in your emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like you were saying, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fill in his part of the deal. It will fill in his part of what is expected from him in this world, because again, this world is filled with uncertainties, and we can only make decisions and walk the path based on the knowledge that we have at the moment. And that's where faith comes in. When we don't know, when we don't have the knowledge, that's where our emunah kicks in, and we walk that path. We take that leap of faith when we don't know, when we don't have that certainty that we're waiting for. That's where the tamimut comes in, and that's what makes us tamim. That's what makes us whole altogether. And in order to get to there, we have to have that emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And like we were saying, part of our tradition is looking for answers and researching and developing and growing through learning. But like Rab Nachman says, first things first is Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. Before you begin with the Chokhmah, before you dive into the Chokhmah, before you dive into the knowledge, remember Yirat Hashem. Remember that first of all, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is on top of everything. First of all, remember your faith. Through that, you can start diving into the Chokhmah. You can start going through the Chokhmah, because in the end of the day, like Rab Nachman continues, even the smartest person ever to live, even Shlomo HaMelech said, Sof davar hakol nishma et Elokim yareh. At the end of the day, bottom line, after digging and digging deep through the wisdom, through the Chokhmah, through all the knowledge in the world, in the end of the day, Sof davar hakol nishma et Elokim yareh. Yirat Hashem, that's what helps you go through life, because you will get to the point where you won't have answers. You'll get to the point where you can't see the answers. Not that they're not there, not because the questions can't be answered, not because they're not answerable, but because in your situation, in your place in life, you can't answer them for whatever reason it is. Sometimes the answer comes later, sometimes the answer will never come, sometimes you'll get an answer, sometimes answers you have today won't be good for in a few years' time and you have questions again. It doesn't matter. The only way to go through this process and to be complete is, before everything else, to begin with, is to be complete with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. That's how you start. That's what it means to be a man of faith in this world, is not being afraid to take those steps forward, Dithalech lefanai, but remembering that you are Tamim, that in order to be whole is regardless of those questions, regardless of walking that path, you have your emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your full emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there watching over you, standing right behind you, making sure that you are going down the right path you're supposed to go down. And once you walk down the path of life like this, and once you learn the knowledge life has to offer you this way, then you will get to the place where the Gemara says, Chacham adif min navi. Because again, when you look in the Psukim this week's Parsha, the answer to all these people that are trying to guess the future and predict what's going on is HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Am Yisrael that we will have a Navi, somebody officially from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that will help guide us in this world. But again, today we don't have Nevuah anymore, and the Gemara itself says, Shechacham adif min navi. And there's a lot to discuss about that topic, but we don't have enough time for that. But this is how you get to that place of Chacham adif min navi, because in the end of the day, the Chacham on the one hand has the ability to dive deep into all the details and research every little fact and research every little thing in order to figure out things in this world. But on the other hand, they are led with the understanding, with the full emunah of Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem, of understanding that above all and before everything else and at the end of everything else, Sof davar hakol nishma, is Yirat Hashem, is Yirat Shamayim. This is what it means to be Tamim, Tие im Hashem Elokicha. This is why it is such a fundamental and important concept in Judaism, because we are about learning, we are about researching, we are about developing knowledge and understanding better this world in order to improve this world. But on top of all, before everything else, and the end of everything else, it's all surrounded with Yirat Hashem and Yirat Shamayim that we have with us 24/7 and every path we take in life.
Yeah, so in other words, be complete, not because you have all the answers, but be complete also along the way as you're getting more and more answers and learning more and more. It starts from that Tamim Teye im Hashem Elokicha. Maybe also, as you were saying, that's what Hashem was telling Avram Avinu all the way at the beginning. Avram is the one who was searching, who was trying to find answers. He was looking at the stars, he was looking here, he saw so many unknowns and he was looking for answers all the time. And Hashem tells him, "Hatehilech lefanai v'hiyeh tamim" is usually understood as two commandments. Walk before me and be tamim. But maybe these aren't two commandments. It's one. Walk before me. Then you will finally reach what you're looking for of being tamim. You're trying to find that tamimut by answering all your questions. That's not how you're going to find that tamimut. Hatehilech lefanai. Walk before me. You know, we usually see this and we've discussed this in the past. past of Avram leading the way. But there's another thing about leading the way, is that you know HaKadosh Baruch Hu's got your back. Hitalech lefanai means you're going in front, knowing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's right there behind you. You're able to do that when you walk on my path and know that I'm right there behind you, then you will be Tamim. You know, it's very common today. People are looking for mindfulness, for being able to just be in the present and be there. People can't do it. They're constantly running all over the place. And it's because they think everything's in their hands. When you're ready to truly make room for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life, not a little room, a lot of room for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life, you're also able to reach that mindfulness. You're also able to be in the present, be complete in every step of the way. Tamim Teye im Hashem Elokicha, with Hashem in your life.
Beautiful, beautiful. Exactly. This is what we have to remember. Life is about walking into the unknown, like the famous song goes. But when you walk into the unknown, knowing and remembering, like you said, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's got your back, that you are התהלך לפניי ויהיה תמים, that you're in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then it makes things a lot easier. Feeling complete, feeling whole already as you are walking, and not only saying to yourself that when you'll get there, that's when you'll have all the answers. That's when you'll be able to feel complete. That's what life is about. That's what Yiddishkeit, Judaism is about. That's what this concept is about. That's what we learned in this week's Parasha. We're out of time, so we'll end here. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it, comment below, share the video with your friends about this important concept. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. We'll just remind our viewers again what we discussed the past 2 years. Last year, we discussed the whole concept of Levim. Why don't they get a land in Eretz Yisrael? Because the Torah this week in this week's Parasha doubles down on that commandment of the Levim not getting a land. We discussed that. We'll link that video. And also, we discussed 2 years ago the whole idea of a king writing a Sefer Torah, even though he already probably has a Sefer Torah. Why is that important? And how important is it for us today, in today's day and age, for each one of us in our lives today, this concept of writing a Sefer Torah for the king? We'll link that video too. And Shkoyach Yitzi.
Shkoyach Tuvia, beautiful. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and Emir Hashem. We'll talk again next week.